Spoiler talk, you have been warned. I'm gonna gush about the spoilers in this movie. So if you've seen Logan or you just don't care about spoilers, hey, stick around, let's do this. Let's gush. If you want to see my spoiler-free review, that does exist. I'll put the link below. You can click on that, check it out, go watch Logan, come back after you've seen Logan, so you know you can hear me talk about it and we can relate and you can do the comment section thing. So since this is not a review and I'm addressing things in Logan I found interesting that are in the spoiler territory, I'm gonna start out with Charles Xavier. I was surprised where they took Charles Xavier in this movie. He has some sort of degenerative brain disease that gives him seizures, and when he gets seizures, he sends out this psychic shockwave that just locks people up and they'll die. It affects Logan a little differently because of his immune system. He can kind of like truck through it and give Charles Xavier his shots. Point is, they're all hiding right now, and Logan's keeping Charles Xavier ultimately sedated. Even foul-mouthed Xavier was like, oh, you're keeping me here and waiting for me to die? Oh, fuck you, Logan. Logan's personal reason for keeping Charles Xavier around is just the simple fact that he is what he has. Charles Xavier is Logan's only real link to anything good he's really had in life, so he needs Charles Xavier to be alive. It's not as simple as just, oh, waiting for him to die. And when we meet Wolverine, he's not in a good place, dude. This dude is sick. He even limps around, hobbles, he has shitty posture. I mean, I have shitty posture. He had worse posture. He's sick, he can't pop his claws out as much as he used to. His healing really isn't working like it used to. The movie doesn't really give you the causality of it. You just know he's sick, and the adamantium is making him sick. But you don't know if the adamantium's just been in his body for so long that it has nerfed his immune system, like it's the cause of his immune system going out, or maybe the older he gets, the less he heals, and thus the metal in his body is poison as metal that's not supposed to be in the body would be. Point is, he's dying and the adamantium is why. When they come across little X-23, Logan wants nothing to do with her. You can tell he knows who she is. He knows that she's his daughter, or at least clone daughter, but he wants nothing to do with it. He's like, no, I'm out. I don't want to do that. I'm not taking her to North Dakota. And when the band of douchebags roll up to collect X-23, a few of them go into that building, you just hear screams and gunfire, and then she walks out holding a really soggy football. Oh no, that's not a soggy football, that's a head. She rolls it, it fumbles around like a football, and then she proceeds to rip fucking shit into everybody. Dude, when people die, this is so brutal. It's so damn gratifying seeing it in Logan's world. And that's because Logan's world is a sick, shitty, tragic one. The world of violence begets violence. This dude has known no good. It's going to be a very raw story. The injustice in this entire thing would be if Logan was rated PG-13. Fast forwarding a bit, talking about psychic shockwaves, that scene where they're in the casino and then the psychic shockwave just goes off and Logan's trying to get upstairs. You see this squad of douchebags that have found Xavier and they have guns on him, and Logan like has his claws and he's in the wall and he's trying to like get to him. That's when you see him just putting claws through people. There's one hit goes to the back of this dude's head, out his face. That was beautiful. That was just art. But that scene where that dude has his gun and you know the ripples are happening and the dude just goes, it looks right over at Logan, you're like, oh, that guy's frightened. And just Logan sequentially just kills all these dudes brutally, and they're just frozen there. Then he gives Xavier his shot, and then everyone just drops. Awesome scene. I love that scene. One scene I found kind of heartbreaking is when you realize Charles Xavier killed some X-Men, possibly all of them. Granted, in the movie, there was some genetic crusade against mutants, so that, I'm sure, did a lot of it. But when Xavier had his psychic freak-out moment in that casino, you hear the radio, and the radio's like, oh, there was this wave of paralysis that hit a lot of people. It's kind of like that thing that happened in Westchester, New York. You're like, Westchester, New York is exactly where Professor Xavier's School for the Gifted was. And the radio goes on to say the last time it happened in Westchester, New York, it killed a few people, including some. And then Logan just turns off the radio. I'm pretty sure the phrase was X-Men. Charles Xavier killed the X-Men. It's tragic that Logan, this weapon of war, never got a real life, and the one that tried to give him a real life and family ended up taking a lot of that away. And again, he's also blacklisted. So these two are really old tragic tales living together, where ultimately all roads led us to the same path. And there's a farm scene. Okay, if you're one of the people you hated the farm scene in Avengers Age of Ultron, worry not. This is absolutely positively how you do a farm scene. They run across this family. They're really nice. They help them out on the highway when their horses got loose. They're like, hey, come over to our place. We'll feed you a free meal. And they're like, all right, yeah, that's cool. So they hang out. They have this family moment with this family. It's a really sweet scene. Logan even takes care of a problem they were having because the family is a black family. And these hillbillies roll up smelling of cheap whiskey and kerosene. And Logan's like, fuck off. Bam, breaks one of their noses, snaps a shotgun in half. Go away. And no good deed goes unpunished for this family. I was like, they're not gonna kill this family. I mean, you know these guys are hot on their trail, but there's, come on, you gotta draw the line. Oh, they die. All of them. Like, the children, the parents, they're all dead. And also another tragic scene, because Xavier is in bed, and he's like, oh, Logan, this is the best night of my life. I didn't think I'd have this nice life, Logan. Don't fuck you, Logan. And you look at Logan, you're like, he looks different. He looks younger. is this a vision? And then new Logan just pops his claws out in Charles Xavier's chest and then just kills him. Straight up, Xavier has this heartfelt moment, sees Logan like, Logan? And then Logan stabs him through his mind's eye. When Logan's picking him up, he's like, Charles, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. So it's like, you don't know if Charles Xavier dies thinking, oh, Logan finally did it. I finally pissed him off enough, bored him enough. We're out in the middle of nowhere. Before I can have another seizure episode, he's just gonna kill me. It's really dark shit, but Xavier goes out. Kind of goes out like a punk, just like he gets stabbed in the chest and then it's done. However, that's one of the tragedies of a story like this. It's that these great people that we know, it's like Charles Xavier, it's Logan, it's Wolverine, it's Professor X, larger than life itself. For all intents and purposes, no one's probably gonna remember them. But there's this new Logan, it's like this Logan clone. They were like, okay, the kids, the X-23s, it didn't really work, so how about this? We just take Wolverine and we have him now. And at first I was like, okay, I don't know why it reminded me of Superman 3, but it reminded me of Superman 3. This movie just did it a lot better than I felt Superman 3 did. Because this fight, young Wolverine versus old man Logan, it's the man versus the beast. Logan versus Wolverine. And the Wolverine, the beast, is fucking winning, dude. I mean, Logan's getting his hits in on this young Wolverine, but I mean, he is in his prime, dude. He's like, blap, heel, oh yeah? Bam, 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 bam. And then Logan's like, fuck, ow. He is not healing like the young one, dude. Like fist to fist, man to man, toe to toe. The young clone's gonna win. It was brutal, dude. Like anytime this thing gets taken out, it's like Terminator. It's like you take it out, but it's like, no, it's not down. It's not out, it's not gone. And the comic book element of like, oh, there are comic books in our world based on our adventures, but they're X-Men comics that we have in our world, that whole fourth wall breaking thing, that actually worked out really well in this movie, as I was hoping it did. Funny thing though, when Logan sees that the coordinates for this Eden written down on that piece of paper that has the money wad in it is the same coordinates that's in the comic book, I was like, Isaac Mendez from Heroes? Anybody? No? Did he write the comic book? Is that where they're going with this? But they didn't go that direction. They went the direction of this lady got the coordinates from this comic book, which means it's a lie. There is no Eden whatsoever. This is a bullshit mission. Ironically, it does exist because she read it in the comic book, said that's the meetup spot, so they all go there, so it exists in their world because it existed for comic books. I thought that was a really cool, neat bit of irony right there. When they meet up with the kids, there was a part of me that was like, is this like Mad Max 3? Is this like Thunderdome? But it totally did work for what they were doing, and so I was glad by the end it totally paid off. But while you're there the first time watching it, I was like, this is my least favorite part of the movie. Doesn't change the fact that it ends in that forest fight slaughter scene, which is the greatest father-daughter moment ever. Straight up, man, that is bring your daughter to work day right there. Happy Father-Daughter Day, folks. Bam. And then we have the last throwdown between Logan and the Wolverine. And it is a hard one, dude. It's a slaughter. Logan is old as shit. He takes that juice and starts ripping people up in the forest, but by the time he gets to the clone, it's worn off. He's now old man Logan again, and it's gonna hurt. And it does. I mean, this dude gets a truck flipped on him by the Earthbender kid. Doesn't matter. Big clone just takes Logan and just boom, puts him on that tree stump. Luckily, Logan, in his hole of depression, had the adamantium bullet. It never really explains where it came from. You gotta think, oh, did he get that from the Stryker thing in X-Men Origins Wolverine? Point is, when little X-23, when little Laura takes it and shoots the clone, just blows half of his head up and he just drops to the ground and dies. Which might not even kill him. I mean, in the comic books, we've seen Wolverine come back from like a speck, so who knows? Maybe it's still alive? I doubt it. I think for the sake of this story in the movies, it's dead. What it does do is it shows us that X-Men Origins Wolverine was bullshit, because when Stryker shot Logan in the head, just made a little hole, and that was nice, and his brain healed. This was like, nope, boom! Would you imagine that? X-Men Origins Wolverine, like, oh, don't worry, his brain will heal. Bah! Oops, I guess not. Fuck, I just blew his head up. Then the movie gets heartbreaking, dude, and it all comes full circle. The whole of this story is a story about a man who never had a real life, who never had a chance of happiness because this organization took him, turned him into a weapon. He never knew peace. He was never shown how to be a part of a family, even when he was among Charles Xavier at work to a point, and then that all fell to shit. The dude has just he's been in this shit. Then he sees this little girl from him who is put on the same path, but if he can get her there, if he can get her across the border and put her in her paradise to hang out with her friends away from all this shit, maybe she can have an actual normal life with family, thus maybe he can die with some form of respite. He saved a bit of himself that lives on in her. And it's super sad and tragic, but you can tell, like by the end, he totally gets this and she's crying and she's like, Daddy, and dude, oh man, it's such a brutal, so I just lose it, man. At that point, I can't help it, man, I tear up. It's the saddest thing. You just saw them bond over blood and killing people, and it hits you right there because now he's going down. He even says, he's like, don't be what they made you when he's dying. She's bawling, and then he's great last words. He's like, So this is what it feels like. And then he dies. Yeah, that's like the one mystery he's ever had. He's never experienced death. Or maybe he's talking about that's what peace feels like, or absolution, or actually saving another human being. In the end, he's probably talking about death. Now he's buried, and I love this thing, because there's a cross at his grave, as, you know, is customary for a lot of people. Oh, someone died out here, boom, cross. And then as she's walking away, she turns back, and she takes the cross and puts it on its side, and it makes an X, because it's like, the cross is not him. The X is. He's an X-Man, not a religious man. You want to see me bald like a baby, guys? This is it. Logan's the movie. I mean, just Logan had layers to it. It had depth. It's the first movie since The Dark Knight that I saw where I was like, that comic book movie is different than other comic book movies. That's not to say the connotation or label on a movie of comic book movie is bad. Not at all. You know I love me the comic book movies. But I'm saying once in a while a comic book movie comes along where you're like, that is a solid, well put together drama that happens to have comic book characters in it. Dark Knight, Logan, they do that. Honestly, if you've seen Logan already, watch it a second time, man. It's better the second time. There is no post-credit scene though, so I stayed through the credits. I'm like, okay, there is. I heard there was. There's not. It's actually pretty neat that this movie doesn't need a post-credit scene. I was really afraid. You know, I was like, dude, if they're gonna have a post-credit scene, I don't want to see Logan's claws or hands come out of the grave or some shit. Kind of weird putting a post-credit scene after a movie like this. You know, it's a pretty heavy-handed movie. You're in tears by the end. You don't want to see a post-credit scene. That is actually smart of them. Well, shoot, guys. I mean, those aren't all the spoilers. If I were to talk about everything in this movie that I consider a spoiler, this video would most certainly be about an hour and a half long. So in a world where I'm just not gonna do that, those are some of the things I found really interesting, really intriguing. I love this movie. So I want to know, in a world where maybe you've seen Logan at a point where you're watching a spoiler video, what was your favorite scene, part, moment in Logan? Whatever it is, whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.